Howdy folks, this is the Command Line Volpine here, and thank you for helping me reach 3,000 subscribers. I didn't think this would come so quickly. It took a very long time to get to 1,000 subscribers, and then it took very quickly got to 2,000, and then we've also gotten very quickly to 3,000. Mostly thanks to the All Tomorrow's theory video, but everything's starting to do a little bit better now, which is always great to see. But I kind of wanted to do this to celebrate. I actually thought of doing this for the 2,000 subscriber mark, but I was a little bit too busy at the time. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to kind of show my method of recording videos. This isn't going to be necessarily a tutorial video. I think there's other people who can do that better than I have and have done that better than I have. EpostVox and I think it's called Frugal Streamer are two that I'd recommend to learn like the basics of stuff. I'm just going to show you the settings that I use, what I think works best for me, and hopefully that'll help some of you out. I do have some friends that have been wanting advice on how to record and stuff, so hopefully this video will help them as well. Things may sound a little different than usual because I'm not actually using OBS to record this. Hopefully everything's working right. You guys should see OBS in front of you here, obviously, but it's not actually the thing that's recording. I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast to record right now, which I've never done, but I needed to use it so that we can work on OBS without the fact that I'm recording messing things up. So yeah, here is my normal OBS window. We can set up scenes. I'm pretty bad with setting up scenes properly, so this is probably like a huge mess, and there's probably much better ways to do this. But you can see that basically I set up my scenes for like specific things that I need to do, like very general overarching things. Like I don't make a scene for every series I do, right? My Let's Plays are one scene, which is what I use mostly. And then I have Pathfinder for when you're doing Pathfinder. There's my null character. VR chat I tried to set up, didn't work out so well. It's kind of difficult to get that working right. And then I have a close-up camera for videos where I need to do that, but mostly I use this here. And every time I do that, my GIFs start playing, so the Monty GIF and the subscriber bell icon GIF, they always play automatically when you start up. I don't really know how to stop that, so I have to reset them every time. I have this controller overlay. I got this online. I'm not sure what the name of it's called. This one's just calling it Gamepad. It's not actually an Elgato thing. I just put it in my Elgato folder. But yeah, it's my gamepad overlay, which we've been using for Elden Ring and stuff like that, just to prove that I am pressing buttons in time and that there's just a lot of input lag, which is usually the case. Or also I use it a lot in Slasher's Keep, because in Slasher's Keep, when you like jump, actually usually for that I use like the keyboard, because I don't think I play that with controller. I use a keyboard and mouse, and same thing. It just lets people see what I've pressed, so that you can see that when I press jump in Slasher's Keep and then my character doesn't jump, that's what's happening. Let's see, maybe we can get... No, I can't. I don't know where I found these. Just Googling them made them come up, I think. I might as well leave that on, because I'm going to record Elden Ring later. But yeah, that's just sort of my overlay here, and then I have all my different sources, like anything that's a GIF. I think if I click this, it's actually going to play the Monty noise, so I don't know if I actually want to do that. So any GIF that I want to play on screen, I have to put it in here to make it work. There might be a better way to do it, but it's the only way I could think of to do it. Then I also have just the pause screens for like, I'll be right back. The subscriber bell icon GIF, that doesn't do anything. So I can play that one just fine without playing a loud noise. And then down at the bottom, I have whatever captures I'm going to use. Usually it's the game capture to record a video game. But sometimes not all the games cooperate, in which case the second best option is window capture, if you can make that work. Go into properties on here. You can make it try to catch like any full screen title, but what I do is I just look for exact match, and then I click on the thing it needs. See, the last thing I recorded was Master of Orion 2 with this, because the game recording didn't work, because it's an ancient game. And then worst case scenario, you have the display capture, which creates an infinite time loop if you're recording like this, which is part of the reason why we're using NVIDIA Broadcast to record instead of OBS as usual. And now let's go look at my settings. In my settings, not much to do in general. I don't want to click on stream because you might, I guess I can censor it if it shows up. No, we're okay. I obviously don't really stream on Twitch. I stream on YouTube, which is here, and then I have to use my stream key, so on and so forth. But yeah, output is the main thing. So, let's see. We are in my Ultra HD local recording profile. So I also make these profiles for what I'm trying to record. This is just what I do normally now for my Let's Plays. 1440p, 60 FPS. It's about the highest YouTuber lets you do. I think some channels get access to 4K, but my monitor isn't 4K, so there's no point in using 4K. I also don't think they really let you record anything in 14 or 144 FPS, so 60 FPS is the best you can do, so this is basically like max settings, more or less. Some games are just way too detailed for this to work, and then I have to switch to like HD local, which is 1080p 30 FPS. And then I have standard definition streaming. I don't think I've had to use that. Usually streams have been okay. And then I have HD streaming, which is what I usually switch to when I need to do streams. We can kind of compare and contrast the differences. So we go to HD streaming and settings and output. Kitty, what are you doing? You also have to have cats on hand for recording YouTube videos. So streaming settings, then all that matters is their streaming settings, obviously. I use the X264 encoder for streaming. They say to use your CPU for streams. I don't know the exact logic of why, but apparently the CPU is better for stream encoding. The main thing I know is it does use bit rates, which is what most streaming platforms kind of base your streaming quality on. Usually, if you have any good connection, you can crank this up pretty high. The thing to keep in mind, though, is with, I think it's Twitch. On Twitch, if you're not, it might be if you're affiliated, but I think you might even have to be partner for viewers to set their own quality settings. So if you're on Twitch and you crank this up to like 8,000, people might not be able to watch because they can't actually download 8,000 bits per second, you know? So you have to pay attention to how high this is. There's charts and stuff online of how high to set this, but for me, 45,000 seems to get good quality streams to YouTube without really dropping that many frames. Keyframe interval of 2. I also don't know what this means. Like I said, you can watch like ePostVox or Frugal Streamer. They can tell you more about like what these actually mean, but this is what one or the other had said to set your things to. CPU usage preset, the higher equals less CPU usage, which is kind of funny. You think of it differently. Usually, I think they want you to set it to fast, because if you have a pretty like not great CPU, fast is fine. I have an extremely high end CPU, but even then they say there's no real point in going to like slow. And yeah, the lower settings are actually better here. It's kind of weird, but yeah, the lower you go here, the better the quality, but the harder it is on your system. Because I have a really good system, I put it on medium. Profile, they always say to put it on main. And I don't even know if tune existed in the past. Looks like that's just like some kind of overlay or something, which I will not mess with. So yeah, that's what you want to do if you're streaming. But I don't do very much of that anymore. So I mostly do the local recording, which you actually want to use different settings for. So go back to output. It'll still show you streaming settings here, but this is obviously not great. You can see it's set it to very fast by default in 2,500 kbps on this. Much lower quality. I wouldn't actually stream in that for myself. But what matters here is our recording settings. So I have a recording path set up. So what I've done is I actually have quite a few different hard drives in my system. Hopefully you guys can still see everything. The broadcast should be recording the entire monitor, so you should be able to see the Fire Explorer here. So you see I have a bunch of different hard drives here. I have the C drive, that's for Windows and just everyday apps and stuff. I don't really put any games or anything else on there. And that's a PCIe slot drive, which is pretty nice. Corsair NX 500, I think it's called. And it's pretty fast, and that's just where I keep the OS separate from everything else, just to keep the just to try to keep things spread out so there's not like a bunch of load on just one thing. And then I have the Velociraptor. It's a 1 terabyte hard drive. It's really old, but it's 10,000 RPM. Like they don't even make hard drives that really do that anymore. So this is like a really high-end hard drive. I don't really use it for games, just because games are actually starting to use SSDs now for faster loading and stuff. But I do put just like my documents and pictures and stuff on there, because it doesn't seem to have much trouble with those. So it's my slowest drive, but it's a pretty big backup drive. I guess everything on my system's kind of 1 terabyte now. This is 500 gigabytes. The WD Black is my game drive. It's kind of a mid-range M.2 SSD. So that's where I install all my games. And then I have the Intel 660p, which is like a very cheap M.2 SSD. But even then, because it's an M.2 SSD, it's very fast, even though it's like the lowest end kind of one. And that is just for storage of all my videos. And that's necessary because video files are gigantic. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. I don't really hear YouTubers talk about it much. They talk about their drives getting full, but it kind of, the way they phrase it, it just sounds like they're just keeping archives of all their videos. But no, videos can just be gigantic. So here's Elden Ring, the last 7 episodes of Elden Ring. 15 gigs, 17 gigs, 14 gigs, 24 gigs almost. Yeah, videos are huge. And I'm even recording Elden Ring not in my normal HD settings. Down here in videos, I've actually brought things down to 1080, 30 FPS. Before I did that, the videos were like 40 gigabytes big. It varies a lot by game, and it can be kind of random. What I would say... Oh, I can't really think of like an easy way to describe it. So something like Minecraft, the colors on screen are very blocky. They're all like a solid color most of the time, unless you have like mod packs installed. We're just talking base Minecraft here. The pictures on screen, like frame to frame, aren't looking that much different from each other. So the file size ends up being a lot smaller. If you boot up something like Factorio and you say, well, Factorio is like a 2D game and it runs really fast, like that should be really easy to run on your system. No, because when you're zoomed out on Factorio, the texture on the terrain is just like so dotty and staticky looking almost that it just kind of overloads the recording software. So those can be as big as Elden Ring files. And then you could play something like GTA 5 and then it'll be kind of low again, even though it's a fully 3D game or something. It's just like based on how busy the screen is kind of your limiting factor on file size. So yeah, like the only reason like I lower my recording settings is not because my system can't do it. It can do it in spades. It could probably even record like 4K, 1000 FPS. No, not really. But probably do 4K, 144 FPS just fine. The problem is I don't have enough file space for it, you know. These files are gigantic. And even if I did have like a massive, gigantic hard drive, like an 8 terabyte hard drive, like those do exist, when you put it into a file editor or a video editor, it'll just take forever to load the dang file, and then just moving things around and the timeline can take a long time too. So you really don't want your files to get too big for multiple reasons. So I always try to manage that. I try to do 1440p 60 FPS, and then after an episode or two I go check the file size, and if it's too big I have to crank things down. Anyway, go back to the recording settings again. I still record at MP4. Most things try to default to FLV now. I guess FLV, like the recording can be restarted if there's like some kind of glitch or something. I don't know how that works though. I don't know if I restart OBS if it'll just start recording again, and then people just see a black screen until I get back into the game, and then I have to go make a cut for it. So I would kind of rather the recording be dead if it gets corrupted, which I don't think I've ever really had that happen. I've never had a video get corrupted. Most of the time, what might happen is like my microphone might be muted. So then I have to make an edit anyway. The other big thing is now OBS has the ability to pause your recording. I'm just trying to see if there's a representation here. I'd have to hit F8 and start recording. So, yeah, it's not even going to let me do it while we're doing this. That's fine. But now you can pause recordings even in MP4. I think before you could do it on FLV just fine, but now you can do it on MP4 too, which makes things a lot easier. Recorder or encoder for recordings, you definitely want to use NVENC H.264 new if you have it. This is just for NVIDIA GPUs. I think like 1600 series to 2000 series, 3000 series should all have this. Anything older than that will not have this available. You'll have an older NVENC. And I think the older NVENC, it's kind of like up in the air if you should rather just record with your processor with X264 or not. But the new NVENC is really good. So you want to use that if you're recording, but you don't want to use it if you're streaming. It's weird. You can also rescale the output here, but you can also do it over here. I don't know why you can do it in multiple places, but you can. So I just usually do it over here. I just leave it alone over here. Rate control. Again, I don't really know what these mean. Some of these switch over to bitrate, but what I've heard is that CQP is the best, so that's what I use. The CQ level, this is basically our quality level. The lower the number, the better the quality. 0 is lossless, so you'll end up with 1,000 gigabyte files because they're perfect copies of what you see on screen, down to every last little bit. But obviously, those are gigantic files that you can't do that. You also have to remember how fast your upload speed to YouTube is. That's another reason why you'd want to keep your file size small. So for me, usually between 12 to 16 is where I keep it. And it just depends on the video. Like I might actually need to crank this down a little bit for Elden Ring, because the file size is still kind of big. I might need to crank this up to 14. But I usually leave it on 12 here. Preset qual or keyframe interval. Again, I don't know what that means, but they say to set it to 2. Preset, I set it to quality. If you're having trouble recording, I think you need to go lower here towards performance and stuff. Recording or profile, they say to keep it on high. Again, I don't know. Look ahead and psychovisual tuning, they say to turn those on. Don't know what they do. But they do have a bigger load on your GPU, so if you're having trouble keeping recording things, you might have to turn those off. B-frames, they also want those on set to 2, so that's what I set them to. We also talk about hotkeys a little bit. So settings, I don't use very many hotkeys. I just have 2 really. Start recording and stop recording and pause and unpause. I don't know if my mute key is still in here. It is, but I switched it to insert and I haven't used it in a long time. Anyway, mostly just bind my start and stop recording and pause and unpause. I have it set to F8 and F10 just because most games don't use those keys. So those have been safe. Same with the mute key. Nothing really uses insert, so it's a safe key to set to a keybind like that. And with that done, like that's our general overview of OBS. I could like demonstrate recording on it. Well, I guess I pressed F8 earlier and it didn't record, so maybe we can't. Doesn't really matter. It's you get the idea, I think. So we can exit that, and then I can talk about my process for making thumbnails. So what I do for my thumbnails, as you know, I'm a huge critic of thumbnails. I've made many a video complaining about people's thumbnails. mainly, I don't like to mislead anyone. So let me just open up a random Elden Ring video here. Howdy. All right. So here's Elden Ring. So what I do for my backgrounds, I like to use an actual screenshot from my video. That way I'm not being disingenuous. Whatever is on the thumbnail is something that happened in the video. Trying to move here a little quickly so we don't necessarily spoil things. But yeah, here we are. So I just look for a part of the video where things look interesting. Something of import is happening. And that's pretty good. Somewhere in here, fighting this boss would look pretty good. So we just hit this boss with a fire weapon. It's exploded into fire. That's a pretty good screenshot to me. Obviously, it'd be nice if I could get my my webcam and stuff, but to set things up so these aren't getting captured at the same time is just a little complicated and slows things down for me. So they're just part of the video and I just live with it. We just try to cut them out of the screenshot. So I press my print screen button. I happen to have Dropbox installed. Because I have Dropbox installed, it automatically puts it in a screenshots folder for Dropbox. You can see I already made a bunch here. You can see this is actually the frame I used for that episode in particular, but we'll just start it over again. And then I use a program called paint.net for my photo editing. It's free. There's a weird box in the top right corner for NVIDIA Broadcast, which is kind of covering up the corner, but I guess I'll live with it. It's actually like really distracting because it's covering up all my buttons. Anyway, so because I have two monitors, it took a screenshot of both desktops. So first I have to do canvas size, and the width of just one monitor is 256 pixels. So I do that into the width category and canvas size here. Select it on the left-hand side because that's the monitor I want to keep. And that cuts off the right-hand side. Then we start making it a little prettier. So one thing that is always nice to make things a little prettier, sharpen. It gets rid of a lot of the blur that all these modern games use these days, which is kind of annoying. And then just give it a little bit of saturation. Not much. Just kick it up a notch. Bam. Then a little bit of brightness and contrast. Just because Dark Souls is a kind of dark game. Bring it up to like 12. And then you kind of have to adjust these based on what's happening. Like if you're in a really dark cave, you'd have to bring brightness up a lot and then leave contrast lower. If you're in a really bright setting, you'd want to have your contrast over your brightness. And this one, probably like this, 12 and 10. Makes things a little brighter. And then we have to do the second half of making a thumbnail. So this is the background fixed. Go ahead and save it. Then I need to open one of my templates. So I make templates for my videos, as you can probably tell. I also save all this stuff in my video drive too, just so I know where they're all at. So I have all these different templates where I use different color combinations and stuff. And here's my Elden Ring one. You can see it's saved all the way back at episode 2 because I don't need to keep an up-to-date version of this. This is the paint.net file, which keeps all the layers and stuff intact. And then I have to use PNGs for the import to YouTube. So we'll select this, copy it, just select all copy, and then we'll just paste it onto the background layer. It'll say that the image is too big for the canvas size because this is set to how big a thumbnail on YouTube is, which is 720p basically. So this picture is 140 or 1440p, so it's way too big. But I just keep the canvas size anyway, and then we can just resize it. You can see it's way too big. But I don't necessarily need it to be perfectly the same size. I just need it to be shrunk down to a point where it's kind of interesting. Or somewhere like here. As you can see, I try to keep my picture out of it. There you go. So yeah, my templates, I have the text layer, which is the on-screen text, where I try to put like a funny comment or something about the episode. Like, we'll switch to text mode. Oh yeah, I copied the color just so I have the same color on every picture. And then I have all the fonts. I sometimes download new fonts if I can't find a good font, but for my on-screen text, I always use these PX Plus, IBM, and Tandy. These are old bio screen texts. My kind of thought process is that maybe someone would kind of recognize these, if only subconsciously, and be like, oh, I recognize that font. I'm going to click that video. And then I make the pictures, pixel size for these, usually 64. And I turn this off. This turns off anti-aliasing, which we don't really want on these pixelated fonts, because otherwise it's weird looking. But if we turn that off, then we have proper pixelated fonts, and then I do something like grab the weed whacker. Then we just figure out where to put this on the screen. It's usually going to be in the top right corner or the left corner for me. But I don't really want to cover the wolf. Sometimes it's small enough that it'll fit here, but it doesn't fit there today. Put it there. It kind of covers our character, though. So the best place I can put this is over here. Then the next thing I do is I downloaded a plugin for Paint.net that lets us outline objects. As you can see, it automatically outlined this with yellow, which doesn't help any. It just makes it look bad. But I can pull this down to black, make it a little bigger, and now my text is outlined, which looks a lot better than just putting on airplane. I have no idea what episode this is going to be, but it doesn't matter because I already made the thumbnail for this episode, so we'll just make it whatever. So I'm grabbing my teardrop again so I don't lose this color. And then I'm on the episode slide. I get rid of the number on there. And then I go and I just have to memorize or just remember what font I picked for the game. I try to find a font that matches like the font that the cover art is or something, or is at least like the right time period. So this is my Mason font, which is like Dark Ages kind of look. And we'll call this episode 32 because it's somewhere close to that. This font I do want to be anti-aliased. And then I know that this font needs to be like 144. Make it fit in my little corner there, which that's in my borders layer below it. So that way it's not getting in the way or anything. And then I also outline this, but not quite as much. It doesn't need that thick of a line. I just give it the 2 just to make it pop a little bit. Because once it's in YouTube, it's going to be like that big. Somewhere in there. Depends on what device someone's looking at, but usually like that. But the black outline does help it make it a little bit more visible. And then, yeah, that thumbnail is done. And then Sam has her own layer. Sam, I have a few different images of her. I have some sci-fi ones. I have ones where she is dressed up for post-apocalypse, and then this is sort of the closest I have to a medieval one for her. So I use that for medieval ones, then I use the sci-fi one for sci-fi games, so on and so forth. And then there's just like a modern one for anything else that I can't figure out. Not save all. Just do save as. It might not actually matter when we only have one picture. And then I need to get out of my templates folder. I don't want to save it in there. I want to save it to my thumbnails. Then I have a bunch of different folders for whatever games I have going on. Elden Ring. This is going to save as a PDN, which we don't want for sending this to YouTube because YouTube won't take it. We need to save this as a PNG. So, and then you see everything else that I've made is in here now. We're just going to... And then usually I just tile it whatever the number of the episode is. That way when I'm pairing them with the videos, it's a lot easier to find them, which we will do that in a moment. But I don't want to mess up the numbering system here, so we're just going to call this YouTube 32. Let's see. See that I already have the episode 32 in there. That's why I don't want to accidentally overwrite it. I think that picture probably came out a little better. Either way, the dog biting the creature is kind of fun though. And then we click flatten. That turns it into a single layer picture so that YouTube can take it as a PNG. And then normally I'm doing like 7 videos at a time because it just makes it more efficient. So to do that, I just press the back button. Now I'm back to it being a PDN right before I saved it, you know. The file's still saved, but now all I have to do is open up the next picture and then I can paste it in the background and I have everything ready to go again, which makes things nice and easy. So let's not save this. All right, I'm inserting this in at post because I forgot to talk about another step of the process here, which is editing the videos. Now, I don't do this for all my videos. I use this program called Kdenlive. It's just I don't know what this is exactly. It's a free editing software program. It's the best one I've found that's free. I found another. I used a different one before called like Lightworks or something. And the problem with that was I could only do 720p without being paid for. And then, you know, Adobe costs millions of dollars per second to use. So instead, we're using this. Now, let me see. Just had to change my capture method in OBS so you guys can see the full window here. But yeah, this is Kdenlive. And what we're going to do is just work on one of my Elden Ring videos. You're going to be able to see like how far behind or like how long it took me to get to. Oh, I did the wrong thing. So it's very tempting to just like go to open here to like open a file, but that's not actually how it works. You gotta go to project and add a clip or folder. And then, as we talked about before, my V drive is my video drive. Go to videos. I've got my Elden Ring videos here. I have 14 on the back burner. Normally I don't have this many, but I've been playing the crap out of the game. It's going to say, do you want to switch the clip profile to 1080p 30 FPS? Because by default I have it set to start Kdenlive at 1440p 60 FPS. Because normally that's what my videos are at, but as we talked about Elden Ring, because it's so detailed, we have to record it at 1080 30, or the file size gets too big. So we're just going to tell it to switch. Now, editing software is very demanding on your computer. If you don't have a really beefy rig, it's either going to take a very long time, or it could just crash out. Like it crashes out on my computer sometimes. So just something to be aware of, that you might want to just record in small batches. So there's a couple things that I use Kdenlive for. Obviously, you can just use this for any type of video editing you need to do. But what I mostly use it for is to lower the file size, because I can adjust the quality in here, and it's better at it than just reducing the quality in OBS is. Like the video will look nicer, even if it's a smaller size compared to like when OBS, if you lower the quality setting for size, essentially. So I do it for that, and then I also do it to put in my intro and outro. So let's just drag in the first video here. And I like to put it on just tracks one video one and audio one. I just have the one audio track. I don't mix things or anything. Again, I'm not getting too advanced here. We're just being very straightforward. And then I drag it out this way so I have room to put my intro and stuff. And now I need to go find an interesting part of the video to make my cold opening out of. I try to avoid the first part of the video because people are going to see that right away anyway, right? So, hope you guys can't hear the desktop audio, which might be for the best right now, but let's get this fixed. There you go. So we're just going to drag this forward until I find something interesting happening. I did a bunch of leveling up and stuff. Here we go. Some kind of boss fight. Spoilers, by the way. No, this is just a side boss, so it's only a spoiler for my series. And we try to find... What I do is I watch these, the audio curves here. If things are, like, quiet, obviously nothing's happening. If things are, like, kind of fuzzy, that usually means there's some kind of music going on. And then the peaks are where I've been talking. I can't lock onto them. See, I'm having trouble locking onto them. What we got here? Facing the wrong way for that block. And this is why I talk about sometimes when I'm talking behind the scenes. It's like just doing a cold opening adds a lot of time to just making a video. Like, it's a lot easier to just send these files. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen. Just send these files to YouTube, because you can just do that. I don't have to put them in here and edit them and everything. But so yeah, when you're like scrolling through trying to find something interesting, it can take a while. It's a little annoying that this guy is locked in this house. Yeah, the guy's like bugged in the building. Let's see. See this? Oh, wasn't expecting that. Like, that was pretty good. We just have to find like a better start point, and then that can be our end point, is what I'm thinking. Oh, wasn't expecting that. Yeah, so that's our area. So I'm going to zoom in here by holding control and scrolling wheeling up. And then I'm going to press X to get my cutting tool out. I'm going to put a divide right there after I finish my word. And then I'll scroll back to try to find, where should I start this? Somewhere in here is pretty good. I would say right at this little valley here. Hold on. Like right here, perhaps. I tried to do it at the... Oops. You can do Control Z if you do something wrong. I'll put the cut there. I like to put them at the bottom of the valley, because if you cut it like, I don't know, like right in the middle of when I'm saying something, it's going to be... Well, if I'm saying something, it's going to be choppy. But even if it's just like a loud noise, like him swinging his weapon or something, it'll be really clippy, and we don't want that. So I shouldn't have zoomed out. I should have stayed where I was, because now we got to find... There it is. So here's our cold intro clip. We're just going to copy that. And then over here, I'm just going to drag it back to the start. It's easier than scrolling back and forth. It's also easier on your processor. When you're skimming through this video, it's really heavy. So if you can just like click at the start, it's a lot more efficient that way. But there we go. There's our cold open. Now, I also need to upload my intro. You know, that's its own can of worms. I had to make the intro its own video file and compile it and make it and all that good stuff. So we're going to import the intro, and then I'm also going to import my outro. Boopity boop. So the intro, I just drag that in like that. And then I start the video to fade in 1 second from the end of my intro. So my intro ends at 14:08. Oops. We're going to do 13:08. I'm going to right click on intro. I'm going to insert a wipe. That's what we need to do to have the fade in thing. Technically, it's a fade out on the intro rather than a fade in of the video, but same difference. And then I do the bilinear Y fade, because it looks kind of... Actually, horizontal blinds might be a little better, but we're going to do the bilinear Y fade in. And then I'm going to switch to this tool. It's the spacer tool. We have to use this to drag these videos forward. Like, we can use this one. But what happens is if we go back to where we made the cut in the video, there's going to be a space before the cut. If we can find the cut. There it is. So you see it opened up this big space here. So it's Control Z. And if we use... I wish there's a better way to do this, but not really. Use the spacer tool. We can drag this, and what it does is it keeps everything together. So now there's no space over here, but it dragged everything forward, because we don't want to drag each piece one by one. It'll take forever, especially if you have a lot more pieces than just two, you know? Now, let's go to the end of the video. And because I do these big batches of videos because it just makes your time use more efficient. Because I need to use this outro more than once, I'm not going to just put it in here and then stretch it out. Instead, I'm going to go to the properties, duration. I'm going to change it to a 20-second duration because YouTube end screens pop up at the 20-second to end mark. So here it is. Slap that bad boy in there. And then I kind of like to check to make sure my cold open looks okay. See if it looks all right. Oh, wasn't expecting that. Looks good to me. Howdy, folks. This is the command line. Perfect. So now I can render this bad boy, and I'll probably have to like cut the video recording very quickly here because it's going to slam my computer with processing. So here we are rendering the project. I export things as MP4. WebM is supposed to be like more stable and stuff, but MP4 is just a lot easier to work with. So I make everything MP4. This is the quality slider that I was kind of talking about. If you keep it at top, it's like not going to shrink the file at all. If you bring it to like the middle, it'll make like a 1 GB file. These are usually like 4 GB files. And it seems to always just be the same. Like I can put a 100 GB file in here and it's still going to be 4 if I put it here. It doesn't seem to scale, is what I've noticed. It can even make your files kind of bigger if you put like a really low file in there. It's kind of strange. But anyway, I just usually leave it here. It makes it a little bit smaller because these files are still too big, even though I changed the file size. Like, look, it's a 13 GB file. So this is going to bring it down to 4, which is a lot easier to handle. But I am going to click on this. And I have a little folder that I put my outgoing videos in, just so I know they're different than something else. And let's see, this is Elden. I just like make it a short word like that, so I know what it is. And then I'm going to check my YouTube and see like what episode this is, because I don't know how many I have done right now. If I had a better memory, I might not have to do this. It looks like this should be episode 36. So I'll just save that as Elden 36, and then click render to file. And then that'll be it for this segment. And now for the part that's I have to be a little bit careful about. So there might be some on-screen censoring or something. We'll see. Because I have to go to my YouTube channel. And there might be info that you guys don't need to know there. But anyway, here's my YouTube content shelf where all my most recent videos are. I don't know if I need to give you a full introduction to this because, like I said, it's not really a complete tutorial. This is just kind of showing how I do things. But yeah, these all down here are all the videos that I've uploaded recently. They're already visible and people can watch them and rate them and stuff. Things are doing well. And then I have a bunch of videos that I've already scheduled that are already recorded and uploaded. They just are scheduled to go up at a certain time. They have their thumbnail and everything. And then I have these 7 episodes, which are the 7 you just saw thumbnails for on my folder. I have uploaded these to YouTube, but I have not done the settings or anything for them. So we'll do that now for episode 29 here. So here it is. So what I like to do is I need to open up a new tab and also go back to YouTube. You might be like, Jesse, what the heck are you talking about? You already have YouTube open. Why would you do that? Well, so I can do side by side. I could crack open a cold one with the boys here. Just one of the old episodes. Because now that I've done this, now I can just copy paste, right? Oops, I did Control X maybe. You could do Control C, Control V. I just update the episode number so I remember that this is the new one. I don't get these two confused. And then I copy paste the description. Bada bing, bada boom. Then I upload the thumbnail. We know where they're all at. They're in my V drive. They're in my thumbnails. Elden Ring. episode 29. Then I put it in a playlist. It's Elden Ring Gameplay 2022. Then I have my tags. Luckily, we can copy paste these. Bam. Now you might be able to put the episode name it's old. Yep, we're going to get to that. Let's do all this easy stuff first, which is just putting in the game title and everything. So now everything's good. Now I can work on renaming the episode and getting this episode personalized. So one of the reasons why I make the thumbnail first before I try getting the video uploaded or anything is now I have a reminder of what this episode was about. I fought 2 bosses in this episode because it might have been like a week ago when I played this. I think it basically was. So I fought 2 bosses in one video. So we can name it something to do with that. Call it the 2-for-1 special. Then I give it a description. I don't remember what these bosses' names are. And, I could watch the video and try to figure it out. But it kind of takes too long, so sometimes I just don't care. It's just a lot of work for something that someone's probably actually not going to read, just to be honest with you. But I do like to try to give every episode a special description. This one, trying to remember how this fight went. I think I've died on this fight once. So, and then I think we also fought something in the dungeon. There's a catacomb there that we fought a teleporting creature in, I think. Most of the time, we fight one boss an episode just by chance. This time, though, there was a boss directly above the catacomb we were exploring. So we managed to get the rare 2-for-1 special. Not terribly interesting, but what am I going to do? I wasn't fighting like the main boss of the game or anything. But it would be nice to know what I was fighting, because then I could put it in my tags here, which is what I normally do. Let's see. I don't need this one. This was the episode title. So anything, make sure my episode numbers are up to date here. Episode part. And I doubt people actually look things up like that, but just in case. And then these are just all the tags that I think apply to the game or anything that might help them find me. And then with any leftover space I've got, I try to match the title because that helps with search, people finding it in search. 2-for-1 special. Let's see. This was like a tree boss. I'm just going to call this tree boss. I'll also put catacomb because we're in the catacomb. And then there's not really any characters left, so I don't have to worry about anything else. That'll do it. Monetization, because I finally have monetization after 10 years in development. Hopefully it'll be worth the wait. I do turn on mid-rolls. I do turn on unskippable ads, but I don't turn on sponsor cards. Just because I don't know if I've ever seen someone use these, and I'm scared to use them since I haven't seen them before. But I do go and I manage my mid-rolls, because what YouTube tries to do, we'll see if it'll do it here. It gives us an audio wave of what our episode was like. So what I tried to do is I try to find somewhere in the middle where things were quiet, like here. Because this is a boring moment anyway, so I might as well put an ad here. That's where I insert my ad. Usually YouTube will toss in like 10 freaking ad breaks on these things. And then what I do is I delete them all except one in the middle. Because that's all I want is just like one ad in the middle. That's fine. I don't know why it didn't toss a bunch in there. YouTube's a mystery about how it works sometimes. Ad suitability. So now you can self-rate your own videos. This video doesn't contain anything strange. Sometimes, like I actually can show you, I marked the episode where I got really angry as having an inappropriate language because I was real mad, man. I was real mad. And then we get to our end screens. I just use this one where it has a recommended playlist. And lately I've just been using this Bloodborne one because it's related to From Software games. So it's the Bloodborne PS1 demake. And then the video is just best for your viewer. I have no idea what they're going to recommend there. Hey, what is this? Hold on. Okay, that's just a weird glitch. I just noticed that the background here was the intro to my video. I was like, did I accidentally put the intro at the end of the video? But no. What I do is I have the outro, which just makes Sam pop up and my socials and stuff pop up. This is not in the right spot, by the way. That's why that circle is there, so I can know where I need to put this thing. Good enough? So that'll be my end screen. And then cards, I just use cards to show what my last episode was. So I jumped 10 seconds in because this is like close to the end of the intro usually. And I insert a video, and the video is just whatever the last episode of the series was. And then I call it previous episode. Nice and simple. It's really easy for me to just pop these in really quick, and I don't have to think about, well, should I put like this video here or this video there? No, it's just I just make it the link back to the previous episode in case someone missed it. And then it checks for copyright strikes. And then just because I make just gaming videos, I don't get very many of those anymore. But you'd be surprised, you can still get copyright strikes. And then this is the tricky part, is I have no idea when this episode should go up. No, I upload 7 episodes a week. It's one every day, right? And my last episode of a week is on Sunday. I consider Mondays the start of the week for these purposes. So, I know we have this week, and I think we have next week already recorded. So this should be March 28th. And this goes in my 11 a.m. time slot. Just because I've heard that basically 12 Central is the best time to upload. But because everyone knows that that's the best time to upload, that's probably when everyone drops their videos. So just being a little bit ahead and a little bit after, if I have 2 series going on, I think might be a good idea. So I upload at 11 and 3. There it is. Check if the scheduling is right. Yeah, there's the episode 28 on the 27th, which is very confusing, by the way. Just happened to end up this way. And there's episode 29 on the 28th. So yeah, that is how I make videos. This might have been very boring, very dry content, but just seemed like a good way to celebrate 3,000 subs. Hope you all enjoyed or found this useful. If you did, hit the like button. Keep the conversation going in the comments and subscribe if you would like to see more. Until next time, I hope you have a good day, and thank you for watching.